Let me do a
All
quick
right.
refresh on Facebook
I
to
don't
see
know
that
where
we
that
got what we
message
want.
is. Otherwise, I would
Greetings,
reply to
people
it.
who are watching. We are doing the Technorama podcast pre-show, just doing our last pre-minute check. Uh-oh, YouTube error. No response from server. Well, okay, we do have Facebook running, though, so we don't want to stop. Don't stop. Yeah, hit OK.
All right. Where is...
I tried setting up YouTube, but we'll see what happens later. We'll upload it if we have to. Okay, mute this. I muted.
Is it on our show yet? Yeah.
It's on our page. Just this machine's running really pokey slow. Huh.
Sounds like a reboot is in order.
Yeah, that's what I've been reading the comments. Remember, I had YouTube and Facebook off of there for Saturday Night Karaoke. I resurrected our old 27-inch iMac. Well, it's not bad. It's not the heftiest thing.
Why am I not getting a Facebook notification about that yet?
I don't know. Because Facebook's algorithms are weird. We even discovered that today while we were watching church. Donna was not seeing some of the chat messages I was seeing. I had it on I was watching on my laptop and projecting it on our Samsung TV through AirPlay. Donna was watching on her phone. She says, my video is a little ahead, but yet her chat was missing some messages. Like, what? I said, yeah, now you're seeing what we see on Technorama. Yeah, the chat. Oh. It's not like we had different sets of friends. Some of these people we know from church, but we don't have them friends on Facebook. So it's not, who are your friends and who are my friends. It is something completely random. And I swear, Facebook is dropping messages on people all the time. And you don't know about it if you're doing a live stream.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Hey, by the way, speaking of church, we had church today.
You did. We're starting our church next weekend.
So I was an usher at the 8:00 service.
Yes.
And they're supposed to limit how many people were in there. So some of the pews have blue tape on, so you can't sit there. And so this morning we came in, we had 3 ushers. There's 3 doors. People are, when you sign up, it says, go in this door, go in this door. Well, there was only 11 people came, which 8 were signed up. 2 said they signed up, but
so
they weren't on the list.
But a reservation thing, right? You're doing a sign up.
Yeah,
so
because we're only supposed to limit how many. It's like half of what the fire department says can be in the building. So, 8 people came. 2 more people showed up that weren't on the list. I was like, I don't think that's going to hurt anything. Have a seat.
I suspect that's what next Sunday is going to be like for us too, Donna. We're supposed to be limiting it to 50. They do have an RSVP thing where they want to know who's coming, so you got to register before you come, and there will be various seating. They're also going to be recording, doing the live stream thing. So it will be live. They're only doing 1 service instead of 2 on Sunday. So right now we're recording on Friday, and then putting it out on Facebook on Saturday, and then we usually watch it Sunday. I went through the whole process about a week ago.
Yeah, we had 2 services this morning. 8 a.m., like I said, total was 15 people in there, including the priest and the ushers. And then when everybody left, we wiped down all the pews, where people touch, as they go sit down. And so it was clean and ready for 10:30 service, and we recorded the 10:30 service on Facebook. So it worked out. I think it worked. And I heard several people, I didn't feel uncomfortable. So, it was good.
Yeah, it was nice being back in the building for the first time in 6 months. That was my biggest thing. And then, how they're going to do communion and all that stuff plays out a little differently in today's world.
I'll tell you how we did communion, if you're interested.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we did not do wine. She did, she had the wafers, and there was a table with a cloth on it. She poured the wafers out, and she said, Janie, our priest, she said her grandmother's sugar cube tongs and spread them out.
Yeah.
So when people walked up, they could get one without touching any of the others or anything.
So they were able to get out of the pews and go get their...
Yeah. So the usher, what we did was, since everybody was already spread out, we did one side we got 2 sides of the church. I know yours is a little bigger than ours, but we have two sets of pews and there's a center thing. So the right side went, and then the left side went. But we, as ushers, we walked them out and spaced them out. So
yeah. I don't know exactly how they're going to do ours. So they're going to pick up. Oh, like a little foil packet, kind of like a MREs.
Well, you know, I was kidding with our priest at first when the lockdown started. There was these little, look like little communion cups.
Yeah.
And on top there's a little foil thing.
Right, like
and then there was a wafer.
That's what, we saw the priest open one today when he was on camera. I went,
I said, there you go. Yep. Problem solved.
Yep. Well,
marketing
opportunity. It's a money opportunity for some other company. It's like, we're going to make these little expensive communion wines.
Well, I did suggest a super soaker with communion wine, but I don't know. She didn't go for that. I don't know.
There's
I don't
a
know
screenshot. Me with my tongue out and Craig laughing. I'm not sure what. Thank you, everybody who's joining us. Amy's on. John Miller Jr. Amy says we're doing outdoor
says
services.
They're about to do outdoor services.
Yeah, and we will be doing outdoor when it cools down just a little bit more here in Phoenix. All righty. So,
John Miller Jr. says use a slingshot. No.
No, one of those old guns that used to shoot the plastic discs.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, there we go.
Or communion frisbees. You know, you get the unleavened bread like pitas, and you just throw them upside the head. Oh,
right. There's a reason why we're not in charge of our churches.
They keep me in the sound booth for a reason.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what? And if I gave ideas like that to Pastor Dan, he'd probably consider them.
Yeah. No. I was just joking.
You know the story about when we were at Knowledge and I used to pass out the little chocolates? Whenever I would do a presentation at our big conference, you know, I had 2 or 3. It wasn't uncommon to do 2, 3, 4 speaking engagements during the week. And to encourage participation, to ask questions, I would have the bags of the Hershey's miniatures. And if somebody asked a question, I said, look, if you got a good question, I'll give you a piece of candy. I encourage you to sit up front because, you know, I can't throw all the way to the back anymore.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I wouldn't want to hit somebody. I did that a few years ago. I understand she can see a little bit better now. Her eyesight is coming back.
I thought you were like in the forehead. No.
My eye. Great question.
Hey, why is he passing out safety glasses as we walk in this class?
It's like the Gallagher splash zone. Here's the chocolate zone.
You know what? Next time you do acknowledge, you should just set up a watermelon and some drop cloths and a hammer sitting up there. Just don't even use it. Just leave them wandering.
Nothing to do with anything ServiceNow related. Oh, in case the viewers haven't seen, this is the way it goes for work. This is the way it goes for fun. Actually, I'm probably going to put a third one on there that's going to be podcasting for dummies or possibly something else soon. All right, let's get the show on the road, shall we? It's 1:45. Right. We've been kicking around the can. And we are broadcasting to Facebook. I don't think YouTube is working. If somebody wants to go check that out for us and report back on Facebook, that would be greatly appreciated. But until the meantime, wait a minute. I got one side that's really low. Speak, Craig.
Blah, 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 blah.
Do that. Okay, I'll keep talking. For whatever reason, one it would have been way. What in the world? Okay, check. Huh. I'm moving one knob and they're going like this. The left and right channels. Like, no, I got left coming in one input and right coming in the other, and I'm moving one. Check. Okay, they're level enough. Let's go with that. It'll all work out in Auphonic, I'm sure.
Right, yeah. It'll all work out.
Let's start the recording, even though they're a little off balance right now. Technorama episode 612. Some people call it Slingblade. Welcome to Technorama, the show that takes a lighthearted look at tech, science, sci-fi, and all things geek. If this is your first time watching or listening, thank you for joining us. My name is, and if you're returning, welcome back. Of course, we got to welcome back all the people who have been here once before. My name is Chuck Tomasi from sunny Phoenix, Arizona, and joining me right across that virtual table is Craig Stepp. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing well. We've done a lot of podcasting this week, but outside of Technorama.
Have we? Have we really?
Yeah, we have.
We did the live show at Dragon Con. That was a lot of fun.
We did the live show last week. No, not really. I'm sorry. Not really podcasting, but I did the history of podcasting panel for Dragon Con virtual last week. We did our live show last week.
Yeah.
And then we had a meetup with some of our old friends in tech.
Earlier today.
Members.
Yeah, as we record this on Sunday.
So it wasn't really a podcast, but
my goodness, that was a lot of fun. Wow.
It was fun.
It was great to talk to Victor and Douglas and Steve Holden and Andy. Yeah, I don't want to call him Andrew. He's got that UK accent, so Andrew sounds more appropriate to me. But
Andrew,
we were missing Kevin and George.
Yeah, there were some. We're missing a few people, but
and Mike.
I'll tell you what. Just looking at that Zoom call, it occurred to me as everybody was talking about. Everybody's kind of catching up. Aside from that, that's the obvious.
Our kids are old.
What occurred to me was I was looking at these guys and how every one of those guys has influenced me over the years, which I think was fantastic. Because everybody has a strong skill set. Victor is a good speaker and musician. I'm not really a musician, but I like the way he does his presentations. Steve is very organized. Douglas is a writer. Everybody had. Andy was a big blogger, and
I'm here to mess
some of his stuff.
I'm here to mess with your head. I'm that voice inside your head.
Yeah, you, however, but no, it was great, and it just kind of occurred to me that how everybody had kind of affected me over the years, and I think
that is great. True. That is, and continue to do so, because as I look at doing more video stuff for work. Victor was right there saying, hey, you got to go watch these videos, and I'm here to help you with these devices. I'm like, whoa, thanks, dude. It's like that same original podcasting, that OP, if you want to call it, community is still there. Everybody's willing to chip in and help and share. Well, it's a terrific thing.
And we follow these guys on Facebook, and so you still get shades of all the stuff that they're interested in, but it's just when we were a little tighter knit, it's when... I don't know. Really, they kind of formed me. Formed the way I am a little bit.
They formed you.
Formed me out of clay.
I was going something a little more.
Anyway,
8-year-old
you get the
humor,
idea.
But okay.
Influence me, help me out. Maybe a different person. I don't know, because friends. You know what I'm saying.
We have some feedback, so let's roll the feedback music.
Those letters. Let's find out what you got to say. Oh boy! Mailman, mail today.
Oh, by the way, John Miller Jr. says that we are coming in pretty good on YouTube. So
well, maybe we don't have a YouTube error.
That's our first bit of feedback. There you go.
Donna was saying we had a YouTube error when she pushed the broadcast button. So we'll see what that happens. You know what I did not check though? I do this every time at work, but I forgot to do it for this one. Okay, there's a new checkbox. I upgraded Wirecast over the last weekend, whatever it was, to 14.01, and they said, we're changing some of the things with YouTube. And there's an edit button, and under there is start broadcast and end broadcast checkboxes, and I forgot to check those. Because when we're done with this show, it's like the stream doesn't stop on YouTube.
So,
you have to
tomorrow you're like 24 hours.
Yeah, and 24 hours of nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
From
these guys suck.
maybe they'll come back. They're coming back, honey. They're coming back. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for them to come back. Okay. We have a picture. 14. We have a picture from Matt Baum. He sent it in several weeks ago, after our last show before Dragon Con. So it's been a few weeks, and he found a license plate. Do we have that imaged here? There's a license plate, and he said, "Does this mean anything in binary?" It says, "Ew, 1011 from Pennsylvania." Oh, we probably gave somebody's PII away here.
Uh-oh.
Oops. Oh, wait, it expired in March of 17. This must be off the internet or something.
Oh, I see. EWW
Right.
1011.
Ew. Well, if you do 4-bit signed arithmetic, oddly enough, one of the ways to interpret this number is -5. So, yes, ew is a binary high -5.
You trying to tell us something? That's pretty funny.
I thought it was funny, too. At least if I do the math on my fingers, that's the way I counted it. But we won't guarantee anything on this show because we're not professionals. We're professionals at something. We also asked you for your question of the week on social media this weekend and asked you, what new hobbies have you picked up this year and would you recommend it to others?
Yeah.
John Miller Jr. says,
I totally forgot to share that.
Improving my steak grilling skills.
Oh, man, I need to help you out.
Wow. Man,
I mean,
you think
we need
so
to work on it
lowly of
together. How about that?
Okay, yeah.
How about that?
that didn't come out right at all, Craig. I mean, like, I need to help you out. You think that highly of his?
Well, he says he's trying to improve his grill. I'm saying.
Weber Baker says Native American style flute. That I'd like to hear on a recording. Yes, please do send us a sample. And
yeah, I think we need that.
Mike Will says amateur radio. You didn't just start amateur radio, dude. You were doing it on Dog Days of Podcasting like 2 years ago.
Well, maybe he's had time to really,
he's
hone it in.
Improving it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the question said, what new hobbies? But that's okay. Then we flip over to mine. Melissa A. Bartel says, does replacing every household appliance that uses water count as a hobby?
Can be.
I don't know. I did 2 sink repairs on a toilet this past week.
Well, you and I talked about it. I had to replace a fridge.
Yep.
I had the temperatures on the freezer and the fridge all the way to the coldest settings. Just limp along a couple more days. I was like, just a little bit more. I did it.
Craig's going and buying bags of ice from the convenience store and throwing them in there.
Oh, I considered it. I was going to put a tray in the bottom or something and just put the ice in there. I don't know. I was trying to figure out something. I don't know.
Sweet Steve from Sweden says, oh, hobbies. I'm a hobby junkie. So not picking up a new one per se, rather rediscovered. Interesting. I have picked up model kits again. Ooh, I used to build models when I was a kid. Went from the plastic models to wargaming and miniature painting and then over to model wood chips. I am currently back to plastic and resin models, multi-material kits. This is my current build of a mock-up of a diorama I'm working on as we speak. More pictures on Instagram of my projects. Looks like he's got a dog sitting in the corner, or a teddy bear or something in the corner.
It looks like a bear, a robotic bear.
But you can see he's got the blue like craft table, so you can measure out squares.
Yeah,
the blue and white grid paper.
That's not paper. It's
like a plastic mat. Yeah,
it's that plastic mat where you can cut on it and it's okay.
Oh, so, he gave a link to his Instagram page, a QR code for Sweet Steve.
Oh,
I just realized that Sweet Steve has the same letters in it. You just rearrange it. His first and last part are anagrams.
Yeah, yes, he does. How about that?
Very creative. A+ on the anagram, dude. It's Steve, Stewe, because he's from Sweden. Or Sweden.
Sweden.
Let's see. Thomas Hausman says, I got back into doing scroll saw projects after stepping away for many years. He does some great scroll work. He showed a picture on Facebook of a trophy he's working on that has multiple vertical planes. It's like a disc golf. So the disc goal was all carved out of scroll wood, real thin stuff. And then there was another plane stacked next to it for the player. And behind that was some scenery. And behind that was more scenery. So it's like this 3D wooden panoramic really cool.
Oh, there's a picture of a cross he
He's
made,
got
a veterinarian cross.
You recognize that
right
as
below.
veterinarian cross. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, well, I see a dog and I see the V with the little, veterinarian. Well, guess what? My wife, that's where she worked as a vet tech for a long time. So,
That's
I've been
awesome.
around animal hospitals.
Okay, that's kind of
a
how I
good bit
figured.
myself.
That's kind of how I figured you recognized it. Joel Harper says,
Yeah.
eating. Working from home is bad for my waist. That's a hobby. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Steve,
Hey, I maintain my weight through the COVID years.
my Aunt Virginia says learning Italian, which is handy because her husband, my Uncle Donald, knows a lot of
Okay.
Italian, so you can get that going. Eric Miller says nothing new, but found time to revisit some that I had neglected. Oh, please do
Okay.
tell, Eric. Please do tell.
I want to know some more.
Cousin Kathy says, not this year, but I highly recommend geocaching. It gets you outdoors and moving, and at times it's challenging. It challenges you to think and go the extra mile to get a cache. She does a lot
You know
of
what?
geocaching.
I don't know if I think you've done it before, but I did that with Harrison, especially when he was younger. We did it a few times. We enjoyed it.
We've
It was
done a
fun.
couple of them. Yeah,
we
they're
did
kinda
2 or
fun.
3 caches here and
Yep.
there. And there were times when we went somewhere and really geocaching wasn't on my mind. Like we were on a trip and went, wait, I'm going to see if I can look one up. And we found one. So we would go, or I'd found one online and we go find it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. This is before really Google Maps. I was
Yeah.
using my Nokia N800 or N810 and it had GPS on it. So I was able to at least plug in the coordinates and go find it that way without really, the constant cues or anything. So that was kind of fun. You know what? I may have to go do that again. I haven't done that in a long time.
We did one several years ago where I think, Lisa must have been early high school at the time. And we had a handheld GPS. It wasn't,
Mhm.
I think it was just like black and white
Like
LCD.
Garmin and you got to
But it wasn't,
T9 it almost.
it wasn't the kind where you see the map per se. It would say, go this direction, that direction. You put in the waypoints. And
It's just an arrow point. It's called a compass, Chuck.
Really? How do those work? Do you have to
Yeah.
replace the batteries? Because there's one in my phone. Digital Dan Hook says, walking my cat. That cat looks like Holly, our old cat.
Hey, you know what? I had a neighbor that tried to walk their cat, and it was dark. It was not dark, but it was dusk, and I could see the street lamps. And I remember looking out the window. I said, "Oh, there she is. She's walking the cat." And the cat was like,
Yeah, cats
Did
don't
not
walk
understand.
like dogs. They just kind of go in the bushes and wrap around chair legs. And yeah, they're never...
the cat was like, "Where am I at? What the hell's going on?"
Get this strap off of me. Yeah. All right, that's it for the feedback session. We will have another question of the week for you at the end of the show. So stay tuned, stay listened. Otherwise, we'll put it on Facebook, and then you can't get away from it. Kind of like the political ads.
Hey, by the way, Amy Bowen said she has done geocaching in the past.
All right.
Yeah, which is I'm gonna go find maybe. Well, I don't know about this next week, but I'm gonna go find one. I'm gonna do that.
Okay, there's your challenge,
Cool.
your homework for the day.
Yeah.
You know what that means? This music means yes!
Oh, here we go.
We did the alternate history last week, so this week it's time for the real history for September 16th, 2020. This is the 260th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. There are 106 days remaining in 2020. It was on this date in 1620. That's kind of weird because it's 9/16/20 today, or as we release this. The
Yeah.
Pilgrims sailed from England on the Mayflower.
And it was 140 years ago today that the Cornell Daily Sun printed its first issue in Ithaca, New York. Excuse me. The Sun is the United States' oldest continuously independent college daily.
September 16, 1908, the General Motors Company is founded.
And on September 16th, 1955, a Zulu-class submarine became the first to launch a ballistic missile.
Wow,
Missile?
1955.
No, there's no T in there.
It
Missile.
launched a thistle?
Yeah.
Oh,
A
those are so
thistle.
scratchy. TCN9 Sydney is the first Australian television station to commence regular broadcasts on this date in 1956.
And also in 1959, the first successful photocopier, the Xerox 914, I remember it just like it was yesterday, was introduced in a demonstration on live television from New York City.
Our current CEO at ServiceNow, there, worked for Xerox for a number of years. I'm sure he probably
that's
worked.
right. He did. Yep.
It was 59 years ago today that the United States National Hurricane Research Project dropped 8 cylinders of silver iodide into the eye wall of Hurricane Esther. Wind speeds reduced by 10%, giving rise to Project Storm Fury. That sounds like something off the X-Men or something. I'm sure silver iodide is a great thing to inhale or something, too.
I'm Storm Fury.
Are you Storm or are you Fury? I can't figure out which one you are.
So, also on this date in 1961, Pakistan established its Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission with Abdus Salam as its head.
It was 45 years ago today that the first prototype of the Mikoyan MiG-31 interceptor made its maiden flight.
And it was also on this date in 1979 that 8 people escaped from the East Germany to the West in a homemade hot air balloon.
Homemade hot air balloon. That sounds trustworthy, doesn't it?
You know, when I read that, I was thinking of the guy that had all the balloons in the lounge chair.
No, I was thinking something more on Gilligan's Island where everything's sewn and patched together out of dresses and curtains.
Now you need to read this one verbatim. Don't stop. Just keep reading.
Okay. September 16, 1979, the Sugar Hill Gang were formed and Rapper's Delight was released. Ampersand #91 semicolon. Citation needed. Ampersand #93 semicolon. You said verbatim.
Ampersand. And it was 33 years ago today that the Montreal Protocol is signed to protect the ozone layer from depletion.
It's all a hoax.
Yeah.
Happy birthday goes out on this date to French mathematician and theorist Antoine Parent, born on this date in 1666. This is where it gets good, kid, because we got lots of good names today.
Yeah. So Albrecht Kossel, German physician and biochemist, Nobel Prize laureate, was born on the same date in 1853.
James Cash Penny. Remember what that stands for. James Cash. An American businessman and philanthropist. He's founded, James Cash. No, J.C. Penney. He was born 145 years ago today.
How about that? And Jacob Schick.
Careful.
American-Canadian inventor and businessman, founded Schick Razors, was born on this same date in 1877.
What kind of shtick are you trying to sell me?
That's our shtick.
Hungarian-American physiologist and biochemist, Nobel Prize laureate, Albert Zent Grigory, I hope, was born on this date in 1893.
Yeah, and here's one of my favorite authors from when I was a kid. Born September 16th, 1898, American author and illustrator, co-created Curious George H.A. Ray.
He also wrote one of my favorite astronomy books, too. Alan Funt, yes, Mr. Hidden Cameraman himself from Candid Camera, the director, producer, and screenwriter. He was born that same date in 1914.
And born September 16th, 1924, American actress Lauren Bacall.
American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and producer, B.B. King. Not to be confused with ZZ Top. He was born on this date in 1925.
And Peter Falk, American actor, was born on the same date in 1927.
Just one more thing, ma'am.
Yeah, there's just one more thing.
Also born on that same date in 1942, American computer scientist and academic Susan L. Graham.
An American actor, environmentalist activist, Ed Begley Jr. was born on this same date in 1949.
Saying elsewhere, Ed Begley Jr.? That Ed Begley Jr.?
No, the Arrested Development Ed Begley Jr.
Also born on that same day in 1956, American magician and actor David Copperfield. Ooh, if we go quick, we can do the birthdays. Happy birthday to our listeners. On September 18th, Jeff Schultz, a.k.a. Gorbash, Joel Harbour, Rincewind, was born on this date in the 20th. The 20th is also the birthday of Joel Rickenbach. 21st, Dean Jensen and Matthew Jarks on the 22nd. Happy birthday to all of you. That's the way it was on this day in history for September 16th, 2020.
We did it.
Headbanging there.
Excellent.
I think I made myself dizzy doing that. Can't see the screen.
There's that old man kicking in again.
I know. You ever go on a carnival ride lately, dude? Oh, they're nauseating.
You know what? When Harrison, we went to Carowinds, which is the theme park near our house, when we went there, and when he got tall enough to start riding the big rides, which was great. It's just that I had not ridden a roller coaster in a long time. So when we rode a few of them, I was like, it took me a while to get my bearings where I was okay. But
yeah.
But it was like, whoa, after 15 years of not ride, I don't know how long that was been, but yeah, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, I did it.
I put on the roller skates a few weeks ago and I did some spins and went, oh, I'm getting way too old for this.
Hey, you know what's worse is when you got your little kid and he goes, hey, that was fun. Let's do it again. And you're like, trying to hold it together. Okay, sure.
Yeah, and it says right on there, adult required.
Yeah. Where's one when I need it?
Where's a rent-a-dad?
Yeah.
All right, we are going to jump right into the news. We have good news.
Good news, nobodies.
All right. I didn't have to dress up as Farnsworth this year. That's good news.
There's still time.
Yeah. You're the one who had to dress up as Santa for the parade, the virtual DragonCon parade. And well done that was. All right, we have a device that makes clean fuel from sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. It's wireless, so I'm not sure where the energy goes, but this device was developed by the University of Cambridge. Researchers have developed a standalone device that converts sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into a carbon-neutral fuel without requiring any additional components or electricity. The device, developed by a team from the University of Cambridge, is a significant step toward achieving artificial photosynthesis, a process mimicking the ability of plants to convert sunlight into energy. It is based on an advanced photosheet technology and converts sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into oxygen and formic acid, a storable fuel that can be either be used. Nice editing there, people. What is this, comicbook.com?
Oh, believe me, I've read all kinds of weird sentences this last couple weeks.
Or directly convert it into hydrogen. The results reported by the journal Nature Energy represented a new method for the conversion of carbon dioxide into clean fuels. The wireless device could be scaled up or used on energy farms, similar to solar farms producing clean fuel using sunlight and water. Harvesting solar energy to convert carbon dioxide into fuel is a promising way to reduce carbon emissions and transition away from fossil fuels. However, it is challenging to produce these clean fuels without unwanted byproducts. Quote, it's been difficult to achieve artificial It's been difficult to say this. It's been difficult to achieve artificial photosynthesis with a high degree of selectivity so that you're converting as much of the sunlight as possible into the fuel you want, rather than be left with a lot of waste, said first author Dr. Chang Wang from Cambridge's Department of Chemistry. Let's see. In addition, storage of gaseous fuels and separation of byproducts can be complicated. We want to get to the point where we can cleanly produce a liquid fuel that can also be easily stored and transported, said Professor Erwin Reisner, the paper's senior author. So in 2019, researchers from Reisner's group developed a solar reactor based on an artificial leaf design, hence photosynthesis, which also uses sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water to produce a fuel known as syngas. Is that anything like synthale?
Yeah.
The new technology looks and behaves quite similarly to the artificial leaf, but works in a different way and produces formic acid. This is pretty cool stuff. I'm all for looking at alternative energy sources, so look forward to seeing more of this. The other thing I'm looking forward to seeing is our next story.
Your next story? Well, this is more pictures than anything, but and there's a really cool video at the very top. But Europe's largest 3D printer prints an entire two-story house.
And when you said largest printer, I was thinking, maybe 4, 5, 6 feet high. No,
It was the original LaserJet from HP. That's a pretty big printer.
This thing shoots out cement like frosting.
That's right. So a Belgian company, Camp C, has 3D printed with Europe's largest or biggest 3D printer an entire two-story house featuring 90 square meters. The house was printed in one piece with a fixed printer, making it a world's first. And if you look at the pictures, you can see looks like a crane system around it. That's what it kind of looks like. So, sited on the grounds of Camp C in Waterloo, Belgium, the two-story house was printed as part of the European CP3 or C3PO project with support from ERDF. The idea behind the project is to use the achievement to encourage the construction industry to implement 3D concrete printing in their construction techniques. Unique is that we printed that house in one piece with a fixed 3D concrete printer, says Emil Essioni, project manager of Camp C. The homes that have already been printed worldwide have only one floor and are often in parts. The English is a little strange here. So often in parts, factory printed and assembled on sites. I'm sorry, there's no commas here. That's the problem. We have printed the entire building envelope as a whole on site. So the 3D printer, the 3D printed two-story house is 3 times stronger than a house built with quick building blocks. The comprehensive strength of the material is 3 times higher than the classic rapid building block, explains, I'm not going to try and say that name. Maraiki, I don't know. Anyway, project manager at Camp C. The first house is a test building. It will be investigated whether the solidity will maintain over time.
Yeah, I can see it being very strong because it's all one piece. The problem with that is it's all one piece. With temperature changes, you're going to have expansion and contraction, and it's going to crack somewhere. And with traditional blocks, with block construction, it gives it a chance to crack, and you're not endangering the structural integrity of the structure. So I'm a little concerned about that. The other thing that I thought was really cool is in some of those pictures that you saw, it almost looked like it had a wood grain pattern on it. So it wasn't just this bland cement pattern that it had. There were parts even on the interior that had more of a decorative look. It wasn't just here's your cement and here's your wood and here's your plastic and here's your countertops. It had some texture to it, which I thought was kind of cool. If you really refined the pattern of where the, I don't know what you call it, extruder, is that what it is? Where it lays down the material? I'm not big into 3D printers yet.
No. Don't look over at Donna.
You could put some interesting patterns into the output. As you're printing on a horizontal plane, layer by layer by layer, you could do that just by slowing down the print head a little bit. You'd get a thicker deposit of material there, and then you could move on and then do it again on the next layer. I think that'd be pretty cool to see.
Look at the wall. I think it's like second.
One of those interior walls had kind of a wood grain thing going.
Well, yeah, it had like a S pattern.
Yep.
You could see. Yeah. Now the other interesting part, for example, it said, now this is the time to construction I was looking at. So the printing technique makes concrete form superfluous. This saves an estimated 60% of the material, time, and money. In the future, for example, a house could be printed in 2 days. If you add up all of the printing days, the house at Camp C will be printed in barely 3 weeks, which that in itself is not bad at all.
Wait a minute. What was 2 days and what was 3 weeks?
They were saying over time, they can get it down to about 2 days.
Okay.
But it took about 3 weeks to print this one.
You wouldn't be able to print it too quickly because it has to dry. If you're doing layer by layer, you need those layers drying as you go up. Otherwise, it's going to collapse if it's soggy material. So
I'm sure they know what they're doing.
I'd be curious to know what the insulation factor is on that. Are they doing two-wall construction? They were doing some internal structures. How are you insulating that? How are you wiring it? Is another one.
Well, the walls look kind of thick, so maybe there's channels that they kind of planned on.
Right. Or ventilation.
Hey, here's my fear. Hey, Craig, can we put a network drop right here?
Right. After it's been built.
I can't use my hole saw. Just through an outlet cover anywhere.
Interestingly enough, there was another.
We're going wireless in this house.
I saw a picture on Facebook that somebody posted about. I think it was in the UK. A lot of people have their garden walls as sort of S curve as they go down the street, and they are single thickness. I mean, and very strong because it's curved. It uses less brick than, say, a double or triple layer construction to get the same strength out of it.
You know what? I think we saw that same picture because I just saw it was a top of a fence.
Yeah.
A wavy
there
fence.
were a couple of them. There was a newer red brick style and an older one that looked like it was well seasoned with a patina.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they did something similar inside to increase the structural integrity between the inner and the outer wall, because you got to have 2 layers to get some insulation quality. All right, we are going to take a quick short break while we take a sip of water and come back with hacks and strange stories and some other wonderful news. So I should probably play this thing. Yes, that's what we'll do. Be right back.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Dave Slusher from Evil Genius Chronicles, and you are listening to Technorama, because you're in the cool club.
Greetings, programs
and applications.
I'm Ben. And I am Keith, and we are the Two Gay Geeks. We are the nerds behind TG Geeks Webcast,
where we talk about sci-fi,
comics,
film,
horror,
genre.
You name it, we talk about it.
We release an episode every Monday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern.
You can find us on iTunes, Blueberry, Spreaker, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio.
Also, look us up on YouTube. And of course,
we can be found at tggeeks.com, where you can find not only our webcast,
but articles about other geeky goodness.
So come along for the wildest ride in the potosphere.
Did you just say potosphere?
He did. It was funny while Donna was playing some of those pictures on the screen, the cassette, the old cassette we used to have with Chuck and Craig on Technorama. September 13th, which is the day we're recording this, 1963 is the day the cassette tape was released. And we haven't shown that picture in quite some time. It's also Programmers Day, so happy birthday, programmers. I'm not sure what you do with that.
Write some code.
Wish a programmer a happy day. Of course, by the time they hear this, it'll all be over.
Give him a pat on the back and thank him for your app.
See how many actually recognize when that it's Programmers Day.
Wait a minute. I get recognized often. I get paycheck.
Hey, you're a programmer. Let's get him.
Nerd.
Not that kind of recognition. Let's do the hacks and strange stories, shall we?
Yes.
We have a young man who built his own smart glasses. 16-year-old boy. And he said they're better than Google's. Actually, based on what the video showed, they are better than Google's. So a teenage inventor is set out to do something even huge tech companies like Google have failed miserably.
I don't know about miserably, but yes, they
designed the perfect augmented reality smart glasses. Mars Kapadia, a 16-year-old from Gilbert, Arizona. Hey, I got to call this young man. We should have him on the show. He spent the last 18 months perfecting his prototype, which fuses a simple pair of blue frames with a small but mighty Arduino Nano Every. Did it work?
Yeah, it worked all right.
To power the operation. Kapadia has competed in a state science fair since the 7th grade, building everything from prosthetic hand to mind-controlled car. He tells Popular Mechanics has inspired his smart glasses, which are his 11th grade science fair project. It came from Tony Stark's Edith intelligence system encased in a pair of sunglasses. Of course, because Tony Stark inspires everybody.
Yeah.
Because commercially available smart glasses just wouldn't cut it, this young man characterizes Snapchat spectacles as strictly video camera and says the now discontinued line of Google Glass wearables has fundamentally flawed screens. He decided to construct his own smart glasses. Quote, I've always found them interesting, but I never really saw a concept that was very intriguing until I saw the Avengers. That's when I saw the all-in-one glasses that could literally do everything. From there on, I knew I had to take all my experience and try and build it into one well-functioning, very advanced product. So he took the Arduino Nano Every, a smart library, or an open source library that allowed him to talk to the video screen that he got off of SparkFun Electronics. This is all off-the-shelf stuff, much of which I've played with before for my professional career. And this 16-year-old kid put it all together. His video is about 3 minutes long, and he goes deep on this stuff. He's talking, he doesn't tell you how to build one yourself, but he's talking about every component. He's got to work on marketing if he really wants to sell these things, because this video ain't going to sell it to anybody except other geeks.
Leave him in the engineering department.
Right.
Let somebody else market it.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those, if you want instant access to data on the fly, just tap the button. And but it was really well done. I'm considering, the age. This is an amazing accomplishment. It supports.
I thought you said you were going to consider building one yourself.
Well, based on my current skill level, I almost could. It's just the code that he wrote is going to be his. It supports the serial peripheral interface on the Arduino and helps with short distance. He did put in Bluetooth LE so he can communicate with his phone. So he's getting alerts on the glasses, which I thought was kind of cool. It's a fairly decent article. He's got the industrial design is somewhat sketchy. I should have put the animated GIF in there.
It's got that cyberpunk look to it.
Well, the glasses from the front look fairly normal. When you see them from the side, it's blue tape all over the place, wires hanging out, circuit boards up against your eyebrow.
I can appreciate that.
Oh yeah, it looks very home built. But hey, dude, Scotch tape and wires hanging out is pretty darn cool when you think about what he's done.
Absolutely.
We applaud you. Here, we'll give you the applause. We applaud you, Mr. Kapadia. And maybe we will get you on for a short interview or something on the show. We haven't talked to, Gilbert is 30 minutes away. I'm not going to go drive to him, but we could get him on a Skype call or something.
Sure. That's right.
All right. What else has been found in other devices that you don't want to know about?
Yeah, this one I thought was interesting. A former Apple engineer says the U.S. government turned an iPod, into a secret Geiger counter.
I didn't know it had that feature.
I didn't know it had that feature. Yes, you read that right. A former senior Apple engineer says that the U.S. government turned an iPod. They confiscated it and turned it into. No, they turned an iPod into a secret Geiger counter, or more precisely, a large U.S. defense contractor turned an iPod into a secret device that was probably a Geiger counter, and only 4 people at Apple ever knew about it.
Okay, so it's not like every iPod that went out had a Geiger counter in it.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing.
Nice picture.
So the story was told by David Shayer, who was a credible source, having played a pivotal role in the development of the iPod, and is backed by father of the iPod, Tony Fadell. I was the second software engineer hired on the iPod project when it started in 2001. Apple marketing hadn't come up with the name iPod. The product was known by the code name P68. It's kind of catchy. The first software engineer later came to the director of iPod software, the guy who gave me this special assignment. I wrote an iPod's file system and later the SQLite database that tracked all the songs. I didn't realize it was SQLite. Tracked all the songs Over time, I worked on almost every part of the iPod software except for the audio codecs that converted MP3 and AAC files into audio.
I worked on everything except the part that made music.
Yeah, that's right. It was a gray day in late 2005. I was sitting at my desk writing code for the next year's iPod when without knocking, the director of iPod software, my boss's boss, abruptly entered the closed door behind him, and closed the door behind him. He cut to the chase. I have a special project for you, assignment for you. Your boss doesn't know about it. You'll help 2 engineers from the U.S. Department of Energy build a special iPod. Report only to me. That's exactly what he sounded like. They didn't
That's what
actually
the Geiger
work
counter sounded like.
It's like J.J. Jameson talking about Spider-Man. They actually didn't work for the Department of Energy. They worked for the division of Bechtel, a large U.S. defense contractor to the U.S. Department of Energy. They wanted to add some custom hardware to an iPod and record data from its custom hardware to the iPod's disk in a way that would not be easily detected. But you'd have to add something.
Not necessarily.
Well,
I know that the Geiger counters we used to see in the 50s had the wand that was kind of wired to the base unit.
Right. So, but they still had to look and work like a normal iPod. They do all the work. My job was to provide any help they needed from Apple. Only 4 people at Apple knew about this secret project. Me, the director of the iPod software, the vice president of the iPod division, and the senior vice president of hardware. So because Shayer's role was simply to make sure that Bechtel engineers had the training and resources they needed, he said it was never clear what the secret device is going to be. So anyway, he said they added special hardware to the iPod, which generated data they wanted to record secretly. They were careful to make sure I never saw the hardware, and I never did. We discussed the best way to hide the data, and they recorded. As a disk engineer, I suggested that they make another partition on the disk to store their data. That way, even when somebody plugged in a modified iPod into a Mac or PC, iTunes would treat it as a normal iPod, and it would look like a normal iPod in the Mac Finder and Windows Explorer. They liked that, and a hidden partition it was. Next, they wanted a simple way to start and stop recording. We picked the deepest preferences menu path and added an innocuous sounding menu to the end, like software status or
advanced.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, there's something nobody will look at. Help.
Version.
I helped them hook this up in the code, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I just thought this was interesting, but I didn't really see the point to it. So if I was a government guy, I had I'd have to have an iPod off the shelf, or would they make iPods and issue them to government people, and they would be able to scan? I'm trying to figure out how this fit in. Who would use it?
Government needed a secret Geiger counter. Why not make it look like an iPod? I mean, that's how. If you one of these days, I'm going to get to the Spy Museum in D.C., but I understand they got some really cool stuff in there. I'd be surprised if one of these isn't there when they reopen.
I'm just trying to find. It says you can. Here you go. My guess is that Paul and Matthew were building something like a stealth Geiger counter, something that the DOE agents could use without without hiding it.
Okay.
Something that looked innocuous, that played music as they scanned. I don't know, and functioned exactly like a normal. You could walk around a city, casually listen to your tunes while recording evidence of radioactivity, scanning for smuggled or stolen uranium. Okay, so they would have special ones. That wouldn't be just like off the shelf.
No, right. He said he
iPod.
had to put special hardware in there to make it work. Very cool.
I don't think there was a lot of room in iPods, any of them, even the smaller ones to the larger ones, to really put much in there.
You have to take something out then.
This iPod sucks. It doesn't play any music.
I'm giving it back.
Yeah. Anyway, just thought it was interesting. Why don't they just make it? I don't know.
Well, you can't walk around with a
Probably like
Geiger counter and be conspicuous. Inconspicuous. Whatever. All right, let's give a quick shout out to the chat room. I've got a couple on there, John Miller Jr. and Amy Bowen, that we said earlier. I don't see any others. I know there have been people popping in and out while we were doing this show. Thank you very much. Do you see any others in the chat that I might have missed?
Let's see. Yeah.
That's all I see.
So thanks.
All right. Yes, thank you for watching. We do this show 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern time on Sunday nights. We'll get back on our regular schedule now that the holidays are over. And
we're lucky. We got to hang out with Amy twice this week.
Yep. And once or twice last weekend, too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Join us on Facebook and or YouTube, whichever you prefer. Or you can catch this podcast form on the Wednesday afterwards. Also want to remind you that we have a secondary piece to this that only a few select people get. And that would be our patrons. Thank you very much, because you, dear patrons, keep this show going. Your donations pay for bandwidth and hardware and software costs and lots of great stuff that goes into making this podcast. And we thank you. Thank you very much. And get your name enshrined on the show. And you get a special podcast that comes out. We record it right after this, but it comes out before, on special topics. Not quite the production quality of this show, just for those people who aren't patrons.
I disagree.
But the content,
yeah,
I wouldn't say it's worth paying for, but we'd give it to you anyway. It's
part of the deal.
Thank you to you. You people like Alexis Duran and Amber Elstad and Amy Bowen, who just keeps getting talked about on this show. Man, there's no getting away from her. Avner Braverman and Ben Vaughn, Brian Brown, and Chris MC, Dandy Man Coyer. Thank you very much. Danny Mortensen from Down Under, and Dean Jensen, Denise Inglis, Gary Lindros, Harold McKinstry, John Clifford, John Noble, Jorga Schrauen, Christina, thank you very much. Wow, we got a lot of wonderful names on here who have been donating for quite some time.
Yes,
like Kyle Nishioka, who I think was patron number 1, if I'm not mistaken. He's right up there in like the top 3 when we first opened this up years ago.
I believe you're right.
Leon and Mark Kilfoyle and Mike Wills, Night Gig Studios, Saturday Morning Media, Stephen Wetchy, Steve Therian, Spiffy, Steve Cody, and Sweet Steve from Sweden, Steve London. Wait, if he's from...
thank you for putting your money where your ears are.
We appreciate it. We really, really do. And again, if you want to be a patron, there's a URL, whoosh, right there on the bottom of the screen. But if you're listening later, it's patreon.com/Technorama Podcast is where you want to go. For as little as $1 a show, you can help support this show. We'll call your name out, and we'll get you that extra content that we're going to record in just a little bit. So let's tell the Stormtrooper band to get out.
Get out.
And quick, wow. Craig, you want to do all 4 of these? Or are these spaced
real
out?
quick.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. We'll see. Hey, we'll judge how we get through this.
We've got time for, we got time in future shows for pass the remote, toss me the remote, hand me the remote, don't throw the remote at me.
Ow.
Donna and I just finished up both seasons of The Umbrella Academy on Netflix and enjoyed it very, very much. It has kind of that vibe of The Boys, which now has some new shows out, and I'm going to watch those again shortly, which was popular, very, very popular last summer or 2019.
And last week. It's been the new season's pretty popular.
The Umbrella Academy, I love the writing on this thing. They keep you guessing. It is anything but predictable, which is one thing I do love in this kind of adventure show. The basic premise of the show is kind of rolled out in episode 1. On October 1st, 1989, several special babies were born all over the world. I think it was at 43 or something like that. Well, there's one rich dude, Sir Reginald Hargreaves, managed to convince the parents that he would raise them. Either he paid them or did some special deal. And he raised 7 of them. And you get to see what their abilities are. Almost like it kind of feels like X-Men, but it's not X-Men. Trust me, this is a completely dysfunctional family. and they grow up, and 6 of them go out on missions. One was not so special, kind of the ugly duckling. But as the story goes on, there's more revealed, and it's got some very interesting elements about the role each one of them plays, the challenges they have with the way that Dad treated them. Because Dad passed away, there's an apocalypse coming. They need to stop the apocalypse. I'm not going to even get into season 2 because that's even more interesting. Now, my son-in-law, Grantus, watched all of season 1, and he felt like he was investing more than he was getting out, so he didn't get to season 2. I watched both, and that's kind of the way I felt about Dark, the show about time traveling forward and backwards, and the small town in Germany.
I have not seen that yet. Yes.
I got exhausted. I almost made it. I think I'm 3 or 4 shows short of season 3.
Oh, really?
And I just couldn't finish. It was just getting too confusing.
People love that though. That's what yeah. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I understand.
If that's for you, that's for you. But between reading subtitles and following the show line and whatnot, Dark didn't do it for me. But I do like the Umbrella Academy. If you like The Boys, if you like X-Men kind of things, check it out. There are a couple of things that you look at first and go, wow, that big dude is disproportionately big. It looks fake. Luther looks like a goon. I mean, he looks like he's got shirts stuffed in his shirts.
Well, that's why there's a reason why he's like that.
It's intentional. They will reveal that. Yeah, they will reveal that. It's all part of the story. He really is that big under those shirts.
He must work out.
Yeah, someone's been eating their Wheaties, I think is what they said. I'm going to stop with that one because we are at about 51 minutes, and we've got a couple more stories to go.
Let's just talk about these, and then we'll wrap it up. How about that?
You want to leave the Geek Library on the floor?
Yeah, let's just skip it. We'll keep it.
But the transparent public restrooms, you're going to leave that?
I'll tell you what, we'll skip the media corner, but let's talk about these things, and then we'll get through the other 2.
Oh, you want me? I'm going to save high score for next week because I want something.
I watched it as well.
I know, but we'll save it for next week.
Okay.
We
fine.
need something in that segment for next week.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about any of the 2 that you've got?
Yeah, I'll just brief. There's nothing really new to be said about Bill and Ted Face the Music. We did rent that as a family.
Mm-hmm.
I super enjoyed it. I love Bill and Ted, the original one. The second one was, it's all right, but it was fun. The third one, I think they nailed the whole vibe. I think it worked really well. It really, like I said, it had that feeling of the original Bill and Ted movies where they're just kind of a couple of airheads making their way through, navigating through time travel and pulling something together. But it wasn't just them. There was the rest of the cast, and it was a lot and
wait a minute. When was this made?
This year. It just came out.
So no George Carlin, or did they deep fake him?
No, they didn't deep fake him, but he does make a brief cameo. You'll see. You have to watch it to see. But yeah, he's in there. It was a fun movie. So if you like Bill and Ted, the other 2, you're gonna love this one.
All right.
So, and I watched Cobra Kai. It made its move from a YouTube original to Netflix. There's 2 seasons, and a third one is coming, I think, early 2021. So
what did you
it's already
think?
shot.
I have significant reservations about this.
You know what? To be honest with you, it's close to being a young adult kind of thing. Because there's a lot of kids that have relationships, and they're all angry or getting together or dating or that kind of stuff. But then you have Johnny Lawrence, and you have LaRusso. They got their relationship thing going on, and they're dealing with stuff from the past movies to present. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's stellar, but it was fun, and they had that same kind of, they also nailed that kind of vibe that the original movies kind of had, but it's more of a series. So I liked it. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Looking forward to the 3rd season.
All I can think of is I saw some of the scenes like, okay, Johnny Lawrence is a loser, blames it on Danny. Like, oh, really?
I know. And there is a lot of that
trope to me.
But as the characters are kind of growing, you can see the parallels Yeah, where they're Johnny's making a turn for the better in some ways, and Danny's doing his thing, and it kind of they're yin and yang. That's why I liked it. I think it was pretty
Okay.
good.
All right. All right. We do have one story that I did want to get to in the Geek Library before we go.
Yeah, let's knock that one out then.
This is real Technorama material here. Because we don't want to turn into Slice of Sci-Fi or anything talking about shows we watched.
No.
From Forbes.com. Forbes, respected news authority, finance magazine, has this story about transparent public restrooms. And you're like, what? Well, of course, at first, hard to fathom how a public restroom with transparent walls could possibly help ease toilet anxiety. But a counterintuitive design by one of Japan's most innovative architects aims to do just that. Around the world, public toilets get a foul rap. Oh, where's the rim shot when you need it? Even in Japan, where restrooms have a higher standard of hygiene than in most of the rest of the world, residents harbor a fear that public toilets are dirty, dark, smelly, and scary. To cure the public's phobia, the nonprofit Nippon Foundation launched, quote, we need reverb for this one, the Tokyo Toilet Project, tasking 16 well-known architects to renovate 17 public toilets located in public parks in Shibuya, one of the busiest commercial areas of Tokyo. The mission was to apply innovative design to make public bathrooms accessible for everyone, regardless of gender, age, or disability, with a goal, quote, that people will feel comfortable using these public toilets and to foster a spirit of hospitality for the next person, according to a statement from the Nippon Foundation. So far, the most talked about design comes from the Pritzker Prize-winning architect Shigeru Ban, whose transparent restrooms popped up this month in Haru no Ogawa Community Park and in Yoyogi Fukumachi Mini Park. The two units each have 3 cubicles, which are surrounded by transparent tinted glass in cyan, lime green, blue, yellow, pink, or purple. The see-through design has a practical reason, which is to allow the person to easily check inside before entering.
Makes sense.
Okay. You can see A, is it clean? B, is anyone in there? So there are 2 concerns with public toilets, especially those located in parks, explains the Nippon Foundation. The first is whether it's clean inside, and the second is that no one is secretly waiting inside. Because, you don't want toilet bandits. The design relies on a new smart glass technology. This is where it gets cool. It turns the walls opaque when the door is locked. At night, they light up the parks like beautiful lanterns, according to the Nippon Foundation, along with the 2 facilities designed by Ban, the Tokyo Toilet Project has also opened 3 other public restrooms created by interior designer Masamichi Katayama in Ibisu Park, Pritzker Prize-winning Fumihiko Maki in Ibisu East Park, and New York-based furniture designer Nao Tamura near Ibisu Station. I'm going to say this right one of these days. It's Ebisu.
You're doing good.
In the coming weeks, restrooms will be open from the architect Takinosuke Sakakura in Nishihara Ichomi Park. Wow, these are really good.
Yeah.
And Tadao Ando, yet another Pritzker Prize winner, in Jingudori Park. The remainder of the project's renovations, I almost said reservations, renovations are slated to open in the spring of 2021. They're actually very beautiful. If you're looking for, artistic, to see these cyan and blue and aqua and pink and purple, structures, you go, hey, that's a good looking outhouse, right? And
that's a good idea, I think.
To be able to peek inside and go, oh, it's vacant, because we were in line in Paris for, didn't we have to pay to get in those? It was like a 50 euros or something, 50 P's or whatever it was. You put in your coin and the thing would open up. And I think Lisa and Julie went in there together. We could save some money. And then Donna and I went in there together. It was big enough for two. But you really, and then when it closes up, like a lot of public restrooms, it would wash itself out, and you had to wait for the wash cycle to go through.
Spin cycle.
Because there was a line, you knew. Oh, maybe it was free while we were there. I think some of them you do have to pay. But because there was a line, you knew when it was busy and when it wasn't. But could you imagine if somebody wasn't paying attention and they're like, "I'm waiting for my daughter to come out." It's like, it's been open for a while. So that solves that problem. And just kind of lighting up at night, I think, is kind of beautiful thing too.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Which is kind of funny because I had a window that had a little rot, so I had to have the window replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And it went from a casement window where you wind it out to we got a big picture window, but it's got the texture on the glass because we just wanted the light to come in, not necessarily put a curtain in front of it.
It had a privacy glass. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I forget what they call, not the opaque, but anyway, so it's not opaque. It's got the texture. So we had curtains on that window. They replaced it. And now it's just a big square window. Lets light in. I think it's great. It diffuses the light. But what's funny is when I go into the bathroom, I always do that double take and go, oh yeah, that's right. The window, because the curtains are open all the time now.
Right.
It's taking me a moment to go, hey, wait, can somebody oh yeah, that's right. We got the
You'll get used to it. It's nice to have the light coming in.
Yeah, it's great. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
We're getting a new front door to let more light in too, because we've just got the two sides and a total solid steel door that lets in no light. And we want more light in the house, so we're going to redo that.
The only problem is if you get a door that's got a lot of glass, they can go, I saw you walk by the door. Why don't you answer it?
Doesn't matter to me.
Away.
Well, we've got the internal blinds so we can control what they can and cannot see.
Anyway.
So that brings us to the end of the show. But before we go, we do have a question of the week for you.
Yes.
What would you do with a cardboard box? Aside from, cut it up and recycle it like most of us do.
Yeah, you've been stuck inside since March. What would you do with a cardboard box?
That's all we want to know. What would you do with a cardboard box?
I would make a really cool race car.
How big a box? Because most of the stuff we get from Amazon is pretty small.
When I was a kid, I remember we had some box. It was probably like a refrigerator box kind of size. I made a spaceship out of it. I had a good time. I'd sit in it and watch TV.
The bigger the better. You know what? You reminded me, when we were in grade school, occasionally someone would get a new refrigerator and it would come in a big refrigerator box. Refrigerators don't come in boxes anymore. At least we don't see them.
Mine did.
When they come off the truck.
Hey, mine did, but they took it with them.
Yeah, the delivery place
didn't have a chance to make anything.
We used to set up like cubicles in 5th grade or 4th grade. You could put them around your desk. They were just the right size, and you had sort of this privacy area.
You know what? In this COVID area, you could sit at your desk and just put it over you.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Just
set up some lighting in there.
Hey, by the way, I wanted to mention, I think I mentioned this before, and I know we don't do a lot of ads or anything, but my dad has written a book called Vietnam Reflections, and it's not just written by him. He wrote a chapter, but everybody, the other people in the book also wrote their own chapters. So there's about, 12, 13 chapters in here. Everybody has written their own story about some of their, everything from traveling to Vietnam to serving and coming back home. And so there's, like I said, about, I think it was 13 chapters. It's pretty good. I read it and I enjoyed it. So if you're into that kind of thing, I'll have a link in the show notes to Vietnam Reflections. It's by my dad, Doug Stepp.
All right. Thank you very much. And we will be signing off of this, but going right into the recording for our Patreon topic, which, of course, if you're a patron, you probably already heard it. But our topic this week is going to be talking about our Dragon Con and D&D adventures, things we've done over the last week that aren't directly tied. Well, some of them are related to this podcast, but we'll get into that in a little bit. If you want to hear more about it, hey, book a show. You can hear about that. Here's chit-chat about that stuff. I mean, people have made entire podcasts about less than that.
Right.
And this is our bonus material. So with that, we have quite a bit. With that, I'm going to play the outbound music. And thank you once again for listening. Thank you to our patrons for contributing. If you haven't already subscribed, go over to chuckchat.com/Technorama. Find us on Apple Podcasts and Google and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. We are probably there. Or just search for Technorama Podcast on the internet and find us. Thank you once again, Craig, for pulling together all the material.
No, thank you, Chuck, for hanging out with me and
It's a team effort.
podcasting with me.
And we will talk to you shortly. If we don't talk to you on our Patreon podcast, we'll talk to you again next week when we come back with episode 613. So look forward to talking to you then. Until then, give them the traditional sign out, Craig, a binary high five.
All right, 101. Bye, everybody.
Take care. And we stop the recording there. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. I know some of you have been hanging out for a while. We have cats should be happy. I don't know what that comment went with, but thank
with
you,
the
John.
boxes.
Oh, yes. Thank you, John Miller Jr., for that, and Amy for hanging out with us, and for anybody else who's watching on Facebook and YouTube later. Appreciate it very much. It's always fun to do this. This is quite different than the work we do, but it also lends itself to our work because we're always giving presentations and webinars and the skills. It's just fun. It's just fun. We've been doing this for over 15 years, and it continues to be fun. And as long as it's fun, we'll keep doing it.
That's right.
Thank you for
We don't
watching.
care what you say. We're going to keep doing it.
Thank you to my lovely wife for handling the video engineering. And we will see you again real soon.